and welcome to The Enterprise. Here we examine the lives of successful people and what makes them tick. I am Olajumoke Alaode James, and my guest today was certainly not easy to come by. But once we had him, we knew we were in for an unforgettable moment. He's none other than one of the leading names in the Nigerian leadership and transformational coaching landscape. Not many persons summoned the sort of courage he had when he voluntarily left a lucrative position in the energy sector to be his own man in pursuit of his strengths. Mr. Ogbo Awoke Ogbo, you're welcome to The Enterprise.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here. Thank you for honoring us. So, with a background in zoology and GIS and working in Shell and then going to Chevron, coming back to Shell, you eventually left, the kind of work that all of us are looking for to start your own personal pursuits in transformational leadership. In fact, in town, they call you the businessman's coach, right? The courage to do that is not one that a lot of us have. What was the inspiration? What made you say, this is the way that I'm going to go and I'm going to succeed at it?
Okay, thank you. I had a project for Shell in the Netherlands. I had come to a point that I really loved the job, but I didn't think that it was giving me the full expression of who I could actually be. So I came to the point that I had to choose either the comfort zone, because I was very comfortable. It was very comfortable, as you would know, or to put myself in a position where I could not only express the totality of what I believe I am, but also help a lot of people in Africa, because traveling through the continents and the different countries, I found that Africa can actually indeed be much better. And I also, personally found it very, very distressing that we are about 1.3 billion people in Africa, but we do not contribute more than about 2.5% to the global GDP. And so these were the things boiling in my heart, while I was in Holland. So I asked myself the question. One day I came back, to the apartment, and the question was, what 100 things can I or must I achieve before I died? That question sent me on the journey, on the exploration that made it very easy for me to, when I came back, I said, okay, when I looked at this list, I said, if I stayed in Shell, I wouldn't be able to do this, but I would be able to live very comfortable, send the children to good schools, build good houses, have good cars and things like that. But I thought that this weren't enough to kind of define who I wanted to be.
So you had moved up the ladder or the pyramid of Maslow's pyramid of wants, right? That it was no longer about you. It was now about personal fulfillment, building lives rather than just being comfortable with your own life, right?
Yeah, I could call it that, because at some point, in life, you discover that food isn't, you're not motivated by food or by what you put on.
At some point, you have to cut down on
Absolutely. Yeah, very true. Like I eat cooked food just once a day.
Now.
And so how much could you eat?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I thought that life involved a lot more adventure, and especially where you could actually leave it to be a guiding light and a support for other people. So that's actually what made it very easy for me. And then incidentally, when I came back from Holland, just a couple of months after that, Shell had this, they called it SVS, selective voluntary severance at the time. Okay. So I took the package, and then happily. Yeah,
okay, so Ogbo, your personal pursuit, right? You said to yourself, I want to build 1,000 unicorns. A unicorn is a business with $1 billion capital share, right?
Yes.
Have you built a unicorn for yourself?
That's a very good question. I'm glad you brought that up because that's really at the background of transformational coaching. So I teach what we call the Ezra principle. The Ezra principle. Ezra was a character in ancient Israel. And then there was one line when I was studying his biography that caught my attention and defined the totality of what I do and who I am. He said that Ezra set himself to study the law, to practice it, and to teach it. And then you also look at the life of Christ, another character, and he says what he began to do and to teach. So there's always, first of all, the level of do it, be it, become it, and then practice it,
and then
before you teach it. And so that's now, it is a journey. You've got to become that person, first of all. So you have got to become a unicorn to be able to. But then it is not necessarily a destination. It's also a process of the becoming, the practicing, and then helping others to do that. And then why unicorns? Because I have discovered that if politicians could solve the problem of this continent, they could have done it. For 60-something years, for instance, in Nigeria, politicians could have done it. But then after several years of my experience in the work I do, I found that the only people who can change this continent are people who think like entrepreneurs, are entrepreneurs. And if you look at countries like America, when I ask you who actually controls America, you will say the politicians. But then when you actually look behind the veil,
you see the Jews.
You will see business people. You will see business people. So you find that people like the Elon Musks of this world, the Bill Gates of this world, the Warren Buffetts of this world, the Jeff Bezos of this world, they pretty much, the lobbying in Washington, they everything. I mean, they get what they want. Mark Zuckerberg of this world.
Yeah.
They get what they want because they've got that number behind them, the billions. And in Africa, we don't have that. So can you imagine if, for instance, we have even 10 purposeful billionaires, dollar billionaires?
Is it okay to interrupt you to
that's
ask,
fine.
Why don't we have even 5 in Africa? What's the structural defect that makes the American able to and the African unable to?
Yeah, so let's come from the Nigeria situation. For instance, no country can ever produce better quality individuals than its constitution. So in most of Africa, the limiting problem in Africa, and these are not the things you find or we teach in business schools. I jumped in Lagos Business School as well. So, but these are not typically the sort of things that you read in business schools. But because I'm out there in the field, I see these glaring things that if we don't remove these obstacles, like Nigeria, our biggest problem for business people is not all these things we're talking about, access to capital and things. Our biggest problem is the fundamental structure of this country.
It's not electricity.
It's not electricity. The electricity problem is also because of the fundamental structure of this country. Okay. For instance, you have all these items in the exclusive lists. So if I want to go into energy or I want to go into mining, I can't. I was with the Seoul City Chamber of Commerce and Industry just last week, and then we paid some costly calls to the commissioners, including the one of mines and solid minerals development in Ebonyi State. They have all these minerals in Ebonyi State, so much, the billions of dollars worth there. But the governor
is unable to access.
Unable to, because of the constitution.
True.
Now, you also come to the way things work and the policies here. You find that people who tend to become the billionaires that we have to have a very strong kind of relationship with the government.
Chokehold on the rest of us. They must have monopoly.
With the government. So the government eases and facilitates things for them, and they become that.
I agree.
So it's the structure. It's not that we don't have very smart people who could actually make it. So it's so difficult, far more difficult to make $1 million in revenue in Nigeria than it is in America.
Okay. can we break it down to, in a way that all of us will understand? So you have a BSc in zoology from the University of Port Harcourt. You have a Master of Science in Geographic Information System from the University of Ibadan, right? And with your experience in the Lagos Business School, the China Europe Business School, and all of this experience behind you in Shell and Chevron, back to Shell, if you wanted to produce $1 billion as a businessman who has knowledge in the energy sector, the Constitution holds you down because of the structure that we have, where the business people and the experts who have the know-how do not have the access to the resources, right? But there are countries around the world with billionaires that do not have any resource at all except human resource. So why is Nigeria and Africa at large unable to go beyond, okay, our politicians are holding us back, but we the people, what can we do for ourselves?
Yeah, there's also the cultural mindset part of this thing. If the color of this skin is a little bit fairer than your own, if it is, and two of us go to the government for something, you step into the ministry, for anything. This one is Lebanese, his color of his skin is a little bit. You are the Nigerian with that wealth of experience you're talking about and expertise.
Yes, sir.
They won't give it to you. They won't give you a project to do. They will give it. It still happens today, even in Nigeria. One of my clients.
So we have our own problems.
Yeah. One of my clients, just 2021, thereabout. He is into bakery inputs, milk, flour, all those things that they use for bakery. He's a major one in the country. Now, he orders a kind of milk machine or something, at that time from Europe. While the thing was still in the sea, the federal government says no one else would import milk. I think he ordered milk and then some kind of machines that only 6 people, 6 companies in the country, while his order was still ordered in the high sea. And
that was it.
That was it. And who are those 6 people? Of course, friends of the government. And then I think out of 6 of them, if not all of them, maybe just one, they were all foreigners or foreign-based businesses, people who kind of deal with the government or government people. And so we have that. We have a real situation. So one of the questions I've been trying to crack for myself and for clients is, how can you think big in a system that forces you to think small?
So do you have a solution now?
We are still working on that, and then the solution is to actually find a problem. That the solution lies in innovation. There is actually a solution, because innovation has no boundaries. When you have an innovation, like one of my clients is also Florida Wave, they have transcended the problems of the Nigerian government and the limitations of the Nigerian government, because their innovation is something that is applicable. Cuts across all across Africa.
Yeah.
So for young people, I would say go for innovation, because innovation, you can't, a young man the other day came to show us a generator that he invented that runs on water. If they don't kill him, because they do, there is the way the world system works. There's another young man, I think he's in Zimbabwe, that also developed electricity, energy generation from radio frequencies. It doesn't cost anything. They have made attempts in his life, and they're still, because see, this thing is a huge cattle. There is energy. But see, if you come up with something that's not going to cost anything, that's going to be water-based, the oil people are going to come after you. And that's also part of the reason why for many years we couldn't have electricity in this country.
So if you were going to provide the electrical solution to Nigeria, they may just take you out because of the cartel.
Not may, they will.
My goodness.
Yeah, they will. Because you're playing on these people's business and means of livelihood. Because the electricity solution in Nigeria would have been solved like more than 50 years ago, since 1970s. But then what do you do with these generator merchants who make big money out of it?
Okay, so a young person who has the zeal, right, to create solutions in Nigeria, what do? Give up and secure their lives, or try?
No, don't give up. That's definitely not to do. I know it's a very challenging environment, but what I've found in business and in nation building is that there are cycles. Okay. There are actually cycles. You come to a place where you might be we might be very fortunate to have people who are very kind of amenable to young people and to inventions growing. We might come to other times where I know there was a government not long ago in Nigeria that had a program to empower young people, and I was part of it. It was called UWIN at the time. I was a judge in UWIN. I saw a flicker of hope for young Nigerians because of the way it was structured.
So UWIN wasn't a scam?
It definitely was not a scam, but people are scams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because what we eventually heard was a scam.
No, it was not. It was not, because, and I think that if there was ever a program, because I'm in that space, if there was ever a program that came from the government that ever, related or had a similitude of something that actually cared for the people and was well managed, it was that UWIN. Because it wasn't actually done by the government, by themselves. They passed it on to the private sector to manage. So you had the Enterprise Development Center of the Pan-Atlantic University, managing it, excellent professionals. The way it was structured was great, because you were not just giving these people money. The first time that they ran it, people took the money and disappeared. But then they now put better structures where people have to, because like I told a government, I met with a state government, recently, if you don't deal with this here and just give people money, it goes. So that union was structured in that way. The people actually they make presentations. And even for many people who didn't get the grant, but interviewing with us and being able to see real life, how to take your idea through a process, they were quite grateful, even, being through that process.
Okay. Yeah. So, Ogbo, out of your goals of building 1,000 unicorns across Africa, where are you now? Number what? How many unicorns have you built?
I like the way that Nightingale described success, and it's a very, very empowering way of seeing success. So in my heart, I've already done it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's already done, because he said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
Okay.
So it's not a destination. It's not, because I could die in the process, but there's a destination, and it's a journey, it's a vision, which must be thoroughly and strongly communicated. Like even right now, part of the process is building young people who are teenagers in secondary school. So we have initiatives, which is not out there in the public, but we have initiatives working with very poor secondary school people in the hinterlands, and teaching them, taking them through entrepreneurship, and teaching them how money works, and teaching them that you don't have to do the Yahoo thing, whatever. But because the young people do it because they don't know better.
True.
And no one taught them.
True.
So we are catching them young, and it's all part of the vision. So I'm very successful in that vision, and it is a journey, a progressive realization of that journey.
Okay, so on the enterprise, we examine successful people. Oh, we're still here with us. We'll be right back after this short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back to The Enterprise, and today we're discussing with the very successful man, Ogbo. So Ogbo has the zeal to solve the male crisis in Africa. So as a radio and TV personality, you encourage people, like I mentioned, you're the businessman's coach, transformational leadership, and how to stand out. Right? Eventually we'll come to family because I like controversy. But for a young person who is just starting out, what's the first step? What do I need to do? For most of us, is education. In Nigeria, even with your master's degree, you are unemployed because the opportunities are not there. For that person who thinks that the opportunities are not here for them, or for that person who has even started and needs Ogbo to hold their hand, what's the first step?
Very first step, let's go back to apprenticeship. Let's go back to apprenticeship. Find, because I think the biggest challenge for our young people is that we are no longer patient. And there's no way there's no shortcut to patience.
I can't be patient too if my neighbor is oppressing me.
And that's the problem because, people, and I'm glad you mentioned that because that's also one of the biggest problems that people compare themselves with themselves. And then a young person sees me, maybe he sees me in a big truck and I'm driving along the expressway and then he's 17 and 18. He says, and many of them have actually come, they see me driving in my truck. And then they say, I like your car. I like your car. And then some even say, we have all these funny terminologies in Nigeria. They say, I tap into your grace. Whatever. So they are tapping into your grace. They like your car. They do not know what you have been through.
Sure.
And they do not know that it's a process. But they just see the finished product. So until young people, so people come out now and they immediately want to ride Bugatti. They immediately want to do all kinds of things, but they have not paid the dues.
To be very honest, yes, we lost it in terms of our morals. Before, it used to be, remember the child of whom you are. Right now, forget the child of whom you are. What do you have? Are you buying your parents a house? Are you buying them a brand new car? We've lost it. I'm not sure that we can find it again. That's my personal opinion because of how far down the lane we have gone. But for the people who still want to do right, maybe they're religious or they're from a good home and they're trying to just stay on the right path, we're here to guide them, and say, just continue on the right step. Get an education, get a mentor. Do you mentor people?
There's a difference. People actually, I find that the way, because you go out there on social media, literally everybody who has an account is a coach. Or mentor. So it's one of the most abused. I mean, it's a fad now, things come in fads. So we have coaches, mentors, and things like that. So mentorship, a mentor is someone who's been through exactly what you want to, So I can, if I'm a medical doctor, for instance, and a consultant, I can mentor a house officer or a young doctor who is coming up. If I'm a mechanical engineer, I can mentor an apprentice and engineer coming up. But coaching is different because coaching actually deals with performance. That's why I don't have to be an engineer to coach an engineering company. I don't have to be a footballer, as it were. You see, that's why you find people who are, top. What's this girl, Coco? I think she's the reigning person after Serena Williams and all these people. This young girl now that's, dominating the world of whatever. But you don't hear, but she has a coach. Her coach is not as good as her. She will beat the crap out of her coach. Like Serena Williams would do, like the golf players, would do. But the coach is there because the coach deals with the performance issues, spirituality, the psyche, and all that. Because if you don't actually know who you are, discover that first of all, you will never succeed.
I like that you talk about spirituality. I know that you're a very spiritual person, and I'd love to know if you ascribe a lot of your success to God's directives and guidance. But I'm also very careful with that question because in Nigeria in particular, we're very religious. So we can abandon the side of our own responsibilities and say, don't worry, God will bless me. If I'm not successful, then God doesn't want me to be successful. How do we balance being religious, ascribing our success to God, waiting for instructions from Him, and then doing our part? Because I know that faith without works is nothing.
I would actually say that 99.9% of all the problems we have in this country are due to religion. So religion is a big problem. Religion is actually what is creating poverty. Religion is what's creating most of the problems that we, in fact, like all the terrorism is religion, the everything, all the cheating, all the rituals, all the whatever, it's all religion causing these things because people go to hear certain things, prophets tell them. One young man, a prophet told him that the mother, and they calling up all these kind of falsities and falsehoods, that the mother was the one holding his destiny. That's why he's not the one. Do you know this guy left Lagos, went and beheaded the mother? And it's happening every day. Because prophets are telling them things, pastors are telling them things.
And then what happens to the end of his life? He spends it in prison.
Well, but you know Nigeria, so I don't know, So, wow, because there's a big difference between religion and spirituality, and we need to separate these things. Nigerians, if religion works, why, they came up...
Nigeria will be the billionaire country of the world.
I came up recently with the list of the most religious nations in the world. Afghanistan number 1, Nigeria number 2.
My goodness.
Right there. So religion is...
But when they come up with the list of the poorest countries in the world,
then it's also that way.
Nigeria, then Afghanistan.
And yet we're so religious. That tells us something about religion. Religion does not work. But spirituality, what's the difference? We can discuss that for a long, but the basic difference is, a prophet said, these people were speaking on behalf of God, was saying, see, these people worship me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. So you find somebody will step out of church and go and commit adultery and unfaithfulness against his wife. But he still speaks in tongues, he still goes to church, he still does 100 days fasting, and he feels justified because I'm paying tithe, I'm doing 100 days fasting, but he's unfaithful. There's so much infidelity in that place because they worship and they sing all the songs, they could do all the whatever, do anointing, fall, wake up, and all the gymnastics and all that. But the heart is so far from God. And so spirituality deals essentially, with the heart that is close. Who are you when nobody is watching?
Sure.
When your pastor is not there, when all those people, who, whatever, are not there, that's character, that's religion. Relationship with God. God speaks to you directly. I do not need to go to a daddy G.O. or to a professor and so to get direction for my life because God lives in me. And I speak with him and he speaks. Why do I need a prophet? Why do I need for them to bath me with coconut water or something to see my future?
Okay, so you have hit the nail on the head, right? I've read the Bible 17 times. I believe that God lives in me, but I do not hear God. How do I know if I should start this business or that business?
Fantastic question. God speaks to us, and that's the essence of spirituality. When I work with organizations and we have, because I tell them clearly, because we actually start from there. If you get that right, if you get the person right, you get the business. So I tell the business team. So when we go there, we discuss things like, people are struggling, leaders are struggling with things like pornography. You are struggling, you haven't even conquered that sort of thing, and you're leading people. How can you lead people when you haven't conquered yourself? And if, like Professor Lumumba said, he said, until you conquer yourself, you're going nowhere. And that's the heart of spirituality. You cannot give other people what you do not have. So usually for the companies I work with, the very first thing, we always start with leadership session, and we have 3 pillars. Number 1, managing yourself. Number 2, managing others. And number 3, delivering results. And they are all sequential and interconnected. If you can't manage yourself, you can't manage others. You're still strong. In fact, Paul was writing and he said, how can a person who can't manage his own family go out there to become a CEO?
I agree.
Chairman of local government,
I agree.
Commissioner. That's why things are messed up the way it is now. People who can't even manage it, they can't, whatever. You see where some of these politicians go to have their meetings. I was shocked what I discovered. They go carry all these small girls and they are there, with the politicians and that whenever they are voting. I was shocked, because this thing happened in my presence. And then there are the people who now come to make laws for you and for me and for our children. They're the ones who make policies for our children. The people who are also preying on them, taking advantage of them. And then, so what do you expect? So that's the heart of the thing. You cannot give what you do not have. So to start, you always want to, first of all, do the inner work. And then all these other things will, kind of automatically take care of
so the
themselves.
inner work is to do what? Meditation?
The inner work, first of all, is there's a couple of layers to it. One of the layers is actually self-esteem, knowing who you are, because we're dealing with a secular kind of society or audience. But yes, if we come into scripture, there are ways, because the very first thing is that, Jesus just spelled it out that you must be born again. And then when people say born again, it's not a religious experience, but people have made it a religious experience. The born again experience, what he was telling Nicodemus, is actually a citizenship experience. Like if I go, I have a colleague, a friend of mine, he's American, but he came to Ghana and naturalized. Many Americans are leaving America to live in different places, naturalized. And I remember that day, the president, he was, with they all brought the people who were naturalizing out. The president was there, and then they had the Ghanaian flag and things like that, and then they said certain things, and then they were admitted into that. That's born again experience. Now, but what in our situation, you're being born again into the heavenly kingdom, into God's kingdom, into a culture, not a religion, because God himself is not religious.
True.
So I don't know how people invented religion.
True. No, religion was invented to keep us down. So don't question your master, don't question your husband, all sorts of funny things. Yeah. But I'm listening.
So that's the beginning of that inner work. First of all, you must come like the prodigal son to the realization of, okay, this is who I am. This is not how. This is not my original state. This is not my potential. This is not who I am. And then I find myself, in Christ, and I decide to say, okay, I want to be built toward that image. So that inner work, you take out the old you, the old nature is gone. That new nature comes into you. And that is that new nature, God's nature, that will walk you through the inner life. That's what will keep you loving your spouse, loving your children, being faithful, and all that. Is that inner work that's helping? I'm 58. Okay. Now, I got married at 30. I didn't know what the body of a woman was until 30. And I'm really shocked today when I say this to young people today. They actually think it is impossible. And it's like, which other way do you live?
Or old school daddy.
It's like, which other way do you live? Now, I've been married for 28 years plus, and it's still that same one woman. And I'm very itinerant. I travel a lot in my work. Just before the pandemic, we sat down one day, my wife and I, and then we're looking at the number of nights I've been away because of my travels outside the country. And then when I come into the country, and then we counted over 215 nights I was away.
Wow.
So Ghana here today, Sierra Leone the next day, Togo here, US here, Dubai here, and things like that. And in each of those things, there were the temptations everywhere. But because of that inner work and that nature that is ruling, I cannot do that. I mean, I don't have to, not because I'm better than any person, but because I have started that inner life. So people need to give attention to inner life, because you can never be better than who you are on the inside, that identity.
So I'm very much interested in how you chose zoology, right? For that young person who is going to be saying, what discipline should I choose? How you knew that zoology was it for you? But again, Jumoke is somebody who likes controversy. So I'm also more interested, as you mentioned, your family were going the streets. A father of 5 boys, right? And you were a virgin on your wedding night. Your wife was a virgin. Both of you did not know what to do, but we have ended now with 5 boys. How?
3 boys. 3 boys. So it's a journey of discovery. That wedding night, it was funny because you knew nothing and I knew nothing. And both of us, like I said, we were just mumu, whatever. But then we discovered over time that that's exactly how God wanted it, because it's something that's going to be for your whole life. So if you discover everything in one night, it's a big problem. Because you're going to get married to this person, and God intended that it's going to be that person
for the rest of your life,
for the next 70 years and all that. So it was good for us. It was excellent. I mean, we look back and then we laugh about it, and it's still a journey of continuous discovery today. Yes, so, and that's...
So are you romantic? Will your wife call you romantic?
You women never agree.
No matter how romantic... You know that romance in Africa is a little different. Don't show me the money. Don't buy me flowers. Because your madam likes flowers.
Because your own is like you people get confused because of what you see on the television. It's
not our fault.
And all those things. You get confused. You think it's what you see on screen. So those is because those things are screen. They are not.
Running away from the question. Are you romantic?
10/10.
Oh, nice. Okay, so tell us how romantic you are.
By the time she's coming back from work, I'm home because I work for myself, so I control my time.
Okay.
I ask her, when you get to Maryland or to Ojota, let me know so that I can make your amala.
Is it lie?
It will be hot while you are coming.
You cook for madam.
I cook for her, and I do the dishes in the house. I did dishes today. Yes. And that's romance, because
African man, romance is to do dishes.
Because you're looking at this woman. She's a queen, and the question is, how do you treat a queen? And I'm a king. How does a king, treat a queen? Because what you're married is not like people think, you didn't marry domestic help or things like that. It's some equal partner, equal help.
Well, based on religion, we don't believe that it is an equal partnership. We believe that the man is the on top. I agree that there must be a leader in every relationship, even work. They cannot be 2 captains on a ship and all of that. So yes, there must be a leader. But based on religion, we believe that the man is on top and the woman is not only submissive but has to be subservient.
No. Well, I'm glad you said religion, but not based on spirituality, not based on true spirituality. Because you see, the man and the woman are exactly
equal partners.
Because it wasn't like the man was made, because our real identity is spirit. This thing is just a temporary.
It's a cast.
It's like Paul would call it a house, a tabernacle.
Okay.
Of convenience.
Okay.
Convenience, because God wants humanity to multiply, even though some people whose names I won't mention want to depopulate us. But God actually wants humanity to multiply, and there's no way it could have happened if He didn't provide that kind of house. But we are fundamentally spirit beings, and there's no inferior. The man's spirit is not inferior to the man, and that's why when we die, there's no gender, there's no something.
True.
He said all of us, we're even called sons, because before God we are all sons. There's nothing like daughter, So it's the kind of convenience, divine convenience, to nurture new life into the world and all that. But apart from that, the spirit. Having said that, what people misconstrue with the submission, they actually think that, like you said, it's not, you should be subservient. That's not what it's saying. There are roles. The man does have a role.
Okay.
And then when a woman wants to go and play the role of the man, that's where there's crisis in the. And then when the man, stops being a man.
No, but in Africa, we believe that it's the woman's role to cook. Now you are turning amala for your wife.
And actually,
isn't that a woman's role based on society?
It's actually a tragedy that it's that way. I don't know how that actually started. But in our individual homes, they have been different. So the society might, but like in the family I came, which is actually why parenting is very important, because the way you model it for the next generation, I know my boys will do the same thing. For their,
I was going to ask how you are as a father. Will your children call you a great father? But thankfully you have gone there. So do your sons also cook?
I think they do. Yeah, I actually encourage them to do, because they come. We actually cook together.
Okay.
Yeah, we cook together because and then sometimes they actually prefer my own cooking.
Oh,
rice.
I see.
And then they will say, they will tell the mommy, we want daddy's.
Okay, so your family just sounds like a happy home. Were you also raised in a happy home?
I'm very thankful for the parents that I had. I'm very, very thankful for the parents I had. I never saw my father, not once, raise or heard him raise his voice on my mother. It was not possible. It never happened. And then I have memories of late in the night when all of us have gone in the bed, both of them will be outside the house, talking. We heard them, they'll be talking, gisting like friends. And my mother will be laughing and all that, laughing through the night and things like that. And they had, pet name they call themselves, I've never heard it before.
So sweet.
And all that. So I grew up seeing them. And that's why the family, we need to go back to the family.
I agree. So it is obvious that the family that you came from is what allowed you to be who you are today, that you saw your father be a loving husband to his own wife. And so it wasn't a strange thing, for you to also keep yourself, right? And then devote your entire life to your own wife and children. Fantastic. Well, we'll come back to the question about how to choose one's career, spiritually, and find one's path in life when we come back after this short break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Enterprise, and today we're speaking with Ogbo Awoke Ogbo, and it's been a very interesting conversation thus far. So you organize organizational development seminars. You are in many boardrooms leading leaders of industries as a coach, as a business coach yourself. I mentioned how important it is for one to find the right path from the very beginning. How did the young Ogbo decide that zoology was the path to go? And then eventually you said, geographic information system, and then to Lagos Business School, China, Europe Business School, you were on radio, you were on TV. There's so many paths to you. How does a young person who is a teenager or in their early 20s find themselves spiritually and then be confident that this is who I am, this is my path, I will pursue it, and in fact, I'm going to build 1,000 unicorns, it may even exceed my lifetime, but how do I truly find who I am in life?
When you're a teenager and then in your early 20s, it's very rare for people to already have the answers and to be able to say, this is what I'm going to be. And so it is a time for exploration. It's a time for exploration, just following. Don't worry about making money if you're a teenager. There's enough time. Like my own mentor will say that 25 years is enough time for anyone in any part of the world, under any circumstances, to be financially independent. I think that the money conversations getting too soon, and parents also put pressure. So go read medicine, go read pharmacy, go read law very early, and then the children are just pushed into this thing. And so let me say at this juncture, formal education, that people are going to the universities for wrong reasons. Very, very wrong reasons. And that's why we have millions of people out today, everybody carrying certificates and CVs all over the place, and people are not finding work to do.
Is it okay to tell my story just so that we situate that question properly? So I was a full science student in secondary school because I didn't have guidance, right? And my mother had a friend who worked in Chevron, and the package was so sweet. She thought, oh my goodness, you should go and work in Chevron. So she filled my first jam form and said, chemical engineering. But the same woman, since I was young, would say, shut up, chatterbox, meaning a radio is a chatterbox, right? A TV is a chatterbox. You just like to talk. So if you have a child that is a chatterbox, shouldn't you be thinking mass communication, law? But my mother was directing me towards chemical engineering. So I did the first jam, and jammed me. And in between, I stumbled on TV presentation. You know, when you're just in between secondary school and trying to get into the university, and you're doing, you know, the holiday jobs, sales girl here and there, I found a job at a TV station, and then said, and I'd never heard of the phrase before, if I wanted to go and read this course in the university, what course would it be? And they said mass communication. Was my first time of hearing. But right after I got into the University of Lagos to read mass communication, I started, you know, writing for online newspapers. I got on radio drama. I got on TV in my year 1 going on year 2. And I was presenting a TV show for 4 years of my university days. So all of a sudden, it seemed that God had directed my path from that chemical engineering that my mother was pushing me towards, even though she had been saying chatterbox, you know, which I'd already spoken to the world about my calling, you know. But I could easily have missed it and become a miserable engineer, right? So I told that story to say that a lot of times we can be misguided. There's no guidance and counseling. We may even think that this is the path to choose because it's lucrative. There's a lot of money in that industry, which is why you find somebody who read law. Eventually they come out and they're an event, you know, planner. You know, how does a young person find it right and on time? I agree. It is to explore, because it was in my exploring as a young person that eventually found my way. I also agree that, you know, God directs our paths. He just, you know, makes the universe bring everything you need into your way. But regardless of all of that, some of us still miss it. How do we do it right?
So I like your story, because that's actually that's a perfect format of what usually happens. Parents put pressure because they see the money or a picture of success, and then many times what they weren't, what they thought was a minus in their life, they want to, you know, put it on their children and say, okay, in this house we must have 2 engineers, 2 medical people.
True. I have a medical doctor sister, I have a pharmacist brother, I have a psychologist. So, well, my mother would even pull my ears. No child of mine would be on TV. But this was when her friends in church, I said, I've been to Lori TV. Oh, yeah, that's my daughter. Now she's
you know, absolutely. So many times, you know, the parents' ego destroy the happiness, the future happiness of their children and all that. So, and I think, and I'm glad I had a father, you know, who was very happy with whatever it is. His own was that whatever you want to do, just be the best at it. And so he allowed me to do what I did. But having said that, you know, I was actually saying that part of the reason people are having issues is that they have the wrong reasons for going to school. Let me say up front, without any whatever, you know, if you're familiar with me, you know, I'm actually very controversial online. Our educational system is useless, you know, just totally useless. It is certificate based, because the thing is, what you optimize for is what you get. And so children will cheat because, you know, they will do all kinds of things that they have to do to get that certificate, and then when they come out with the certificate without skills. So you find this people, they come to me, they want job. All right, what are your skills? I have a BSc in this. Is that a skill? And then people who come up with all this, you know, whatever, they can't even make their lives function. You know, So you go to school to learn how to think, not what to think. Because I've never worked with zoology once, any day in my life since I graduated in 1988. How many years ago was that? I think it's 40 years or something.
Yes.
I've never worked with it once, but I am so grateful for that course because, it forced zoology was in our time, was actually as intense, if not, in fact, more intense than medicine, which many people wanted to read, including me. Now,
was it Jam that jammed you to zoology? Because that's a Nigerian story also.
It's a very interesting story because what happened was I actually wanted to be a medical missionary. But see, I started, in our time we did 5 years of secondary school. Not like now they do, 6 years.
Yeah.
So in our time it was 5 years. And then you don't start doing the sciences until class 4.
Okay.
So now, I was very good in the arts, coming first, doing war, all these things, and, presenting poems, doing all kinds of dramatic, kind of arts and presentations and all that. So my teacher, I still remember my biology teacher, Mr. Ozuroha, said, he kept on saying, you should go study law, you're very good at law and things like that. So I chose arts for the whole of class 4.
Yeah.
For the whole of class 4. So I was doing all those, the histories, the geography, all those things, But then, at some point, something just clicked. I said, no, I actually love science. And I like science much better. Because even though I was good at all these things, debating, drama, writing, I had the prize, the best student in the English literature and statistics, in my school, Federal Government College, Okigwe. 1984 in Federal Government College of Okigwe. So I was very good in those things, and then people knew me that I was very brilliant. We had class A was science, B was a mixture of science and arts, and then C was art, and I was in C. Then all of a sudden I discovered, I had passion for science. I actually wanted to be a scientist, but by then what they had done in physics and chemistry was so much there was no way I could have caught up in class 5 alone. So I was able to do chemistry.
Okay.
But the chemistry teacher, Mr. Nwu, will refuse to sign because you've been away, for 1 year.
For a whole year.
I don't want you to go and mess up the WAEC result. So I put it nonetheless, but he never signed it. Physics, was too abstract, too whatever. I couldn't because I missed the whole year in physics. And then to join them in class 5 was very difficult. So the compromise was, okay, go into university, do zoology, and then while you are doing zoology, you can now change. In those days, you could change to medicine. That was the path. Well, it never happened. I got into zoology.
Another Nigerian story.
And then it never happened. So
a lot of medical doctors end up being microbiologists.
Yeah, exactly. So it never happened. But I stayed with it.
Yeah.
And somehow discovered that I loved it, not because of the subject itself, but zoology made you think. So while medicine focused after some time on just the human body, everything they were studying, physiology, anatomy of the human body. In zoology, we will study anatomy all the way from amoeba to human beings. And then you do evolutionary biology. While the medical people were focusing on just the human body, you do evolution. You have to from unicellulates all the way to lower vertebrates, to higher vertebrates, to all those things. And then you have to know all of them. When did ear come? When did this part of the brain develop and things? I have to know. E was intense. So you thought, you did a lot of thinking. We did animal behavior and behavioral sciences and all that. So it really prepared me, and so that's the zoology story. So people should go to the university, not because of that certificate, but go there to think. Because what I learned in university was so I can switch. I came up and I found that, I'm not limited. That's another major virus in this country. People think, okay, because I read history, I can't do engineering. Says who? And people come out and say, okay, I did microbiology, therefore I cannot do chemical engineering. Says who? And it's not like that over there, like in the United States. You can come all the way from anywhere and become an MD or something. But then the way they structured our educational system, once you finish with your mass communication, that's it for life. and anything, you can only do mass communication. They don't see you as an inventor. What stops you, for instance, inventing an irrigation system? And then when you go, even when you go to register and CAC in your company, they will say, what did you study? We must have somebody who studied engineering. Even though you have an invention in water engineering, but they won't give it to that.
So one of the solutions, if not the major one, is our curricula, right? We need to change our school curricula to reflect the times. But while that is still in our future, in Nigeria in particular, what the young person has to do for themselves is to explore and be original, meaning that do not let anyone hold you back. If zoology is what you want to do, please ensure that you are the best zoologist that you can be. If it is mass communication you want to do, ensure that you are well skilled in that field and be open to exploring.
Above all, learn how to think, how to make sense of the world. You should. The number one goal for university education is to learn how the world works. Once you learn how the world works, how money works, we went through all those schools. I never knew anything about investment. Never knew anything. Even when I started working in Shell, I never knew anything about real estate. Never knew anything about. So all that money was coming and going. And if I knew, I would have actually done much better, for myself. It took years into my career, by the time I got into Chevron, to start hearing about stock market investing. Can you imagine that somebody goes through the primary, secondary, and doesn't even know
how to invest the money they make?
Invest money, how to solve problems. So learn how to solve, so that when you come out, even if you have effect us, you can solve problems. If you don't have food, you don't have a job, you can solve problems. And now, because they don't have problem solving skills, nobody employs them. They sit at home with university degree. You've gone to university and you're sitting at home because nobody is employing you to give you 30,000 naira a month. Is everything okay with this thing that you're carrying? So people should go to university not to get that paper, but to learn how the world works, to learn how to solve problems, to learn how to think, analytical skills, creative skills, thinking skills. If you can think and you can solve problems, you can never be put in any situation when you graduate that you cannot do something about it.
Okay. So after utilizing all of this, our skills, our knowledge, our thinking ability, how do you think that the young mind should define success? Because we realize that it has metamorphosed in Nigeria. Success is how much is in your bank accounts. But how ordinarily should we, as young entrepreneurs, business-minded people, define success?
Yeah. You define success as an entrepreneur based on the mission that you set out to accomplish. So you don't, the wrongest reason to go into business is to make money. The moment that becomes the number one goal, that business is set up for failure and for heartache.
Why?
Because the moment you make the money, that's the death of the business.
And then the moment you do not make money.
And then, because money itself is the worst motivator. But when you define your mission, a mission has three things. Who you serve, what you do, and the outcome that you produce in the world. So that's what should be driving the success. What change, what dent do I want to make in the universe? After I've done this and then gone, what's going to be remembered of me? Those thoughts, and the interesting thing is, you will still make money and still be able to do that thing. But if you focus on the money itself, you may make the money, you may not even make the money, because chasing money is the hardest thing to do. But when you create a business that allows money to chase you, not you chasing money, then you are better off.
So you sound very disciplined, very spiritual. How do you relax? How do you catch fun?
For me, fun is embedded in my work, in what I do. Fun is embedded in my purpose. So
sounding very much like somebody who doesn't know how to have fun.
Yeah, because the way people define fun is is so interesting.
Do you like Nigerian music?
No.
Why?
No, I don't, because it's not fun. It's not fun. But I love
Nigerian music in the world.
No, it's not fun. Yeah, so they love it. It's too noisy. The lyrics are nonsensical. I don't understand what they're singing. The people are just, gyrating to beats. Just beat. And then the way one sounds, the way the other one sounds and all that. It's not like the high life music of those days. Or when you hear an Ebenezer Obey, or you hear the Osadebe of those, and they are singing things, and then they are giving you proverbs like, don't carry the match in your pocket that you will use to light your life on fire. Things like that. And then they are singing, and then they are saying things like time na money, things like that. They are talking about that, in the teaching.
Okay, so what's your favorite song? I just want to know how you relax. What's your favorite song?
How I relax? If you really want to know how I relax, it's more like reading. My favorite is, so my, my best time, other than the time I'm, talking with my wife and gisting with her, is when I'm reading.
Okay.
And so sometimes I could go to Covenant University, Covenant Canaan Place, for like 3 days or 7 days, and I'm reading. I just go with books, field it, and I stay there, switch off my phones. That's fun for me.
How many books have you written?
The published will be 3 or 4. Financial freedom, like 4 or 5, published, but written
so many.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come back to you. What's your favorite song? Because the way you defined your family, I'll be in absolute shock that you don't sing to your wife. This very romantic man that makes tons of money for his wife. Do you sing for madam?
Yes.
I also sing for.
And I make my songs. So my favorite song would probably be. If not, you probably have not heard it. Jericho Must Fall.
Oh yeah, sing. We would love to hear it.
You would love to hear Jericho Must Fall?
Yes.
The Holy One of Israel promised Abraham, I'll bless the sons of Israel. I am the great I am. And because I've made this promise, I'll be faithful to my words. I'm based on this premise. You will know I am the Lord. For centuries have gone by since the Lord gave the word. And because the Most High cannot lie, the time has come to me with a mighty hand of deliverance, unequaled in human history, from Egypt to the wilderness. Behold victory, oh, lie, lie, lie. Jericho must fall, lie, lie, lie. Jericho must fall, lie, lie, lie. Jericho must fall, lie, lie, lie. Jericho must fall.
Oh my goodness.
So I wrote that song, I wrote it in 1995-ish.
Wow, so you write music also?
Yeah, so my best songs are the
my
ones I
goodness.
and I play the guitar too.
There's so many parts to you.
It's just one, and I see it. I guess I manifest in different parts. It's just one.
Thank you very, very much, Ogbo Awoke Ogbo, for coming on the Enterprise. It has been a very interesting conversation with you. And I have learned to define what success is for me, to stay true to myself, to ensure that I think at all times, regardless of what profession that you go in. And family is the bedrock of the society. The families that we create for ourselves will determine the society that we have in future. Once again, thank you very much for coming on the Enterprise. And I know that you have learned 1 or 2 things from Ogbo this week. We'll be back next time on the Enterprise. Please stay with us. Ensure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow all of our social media platforms at the Enterprise TV7. Until we see you next time, stay blessed.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.